Game homestand as they take on the Houston Astros. Boy, the Pirates are sizzling right now. They've won 3 straight, and right now only the Cincinnati Reds have a better record in all of baseball than the Pittsburgh Pirates. Greg Brown along with Bob Walk. And Bob, the Pirates coming off the series win against the Milwaukee Brewers. They dropped the first one, then won 3 in a row. Great to beat their longtime rivals.
It's always great to win 3 out of 4, but when you beat the Brewers, that makes it a little sweeter. Hopefully when we go on this next road trip, we'll go out there and we'll show them we can do the same thing in Miller Park.
Well, because of those victories, the 3 in a row, the Pirates are now 24-17. And Bob, you look back, since 1980, the best records are barrel league leaders. The Pirates leading the way in 1991 at 26-15 through 41. Oh, who's that on the mound?
I don't know, but he needs a haircut.
He sure does. 1988, they were 25-16. Bob Walk helped lead that team to that record, and Jay Bell and company in 1992 were 24-17. The current Pirates club, 24-17. You think it's important to get off to a good start?
Well, of course it's important to get off to a good start. 2 of those teams, the 91-92 team, it was a great start, and they ended up going to the postseason. 88 didn't make it. We fell short in 88, so it's not a guarantee. That's for sure, but it's a lot better than having to play catch-up. We just got to keep it going.
But the Pirates were winning a lot of games against tougher opponents, and now maybe the better part of the schedule coming up against the Houston Astros for 3, and then the Chicago Cubs next week.
Yeah, but, I want to be careful about taking anything for granted. Don't get too cocky about how easy it's going to be. These guys are major league players, major league teams. You still got to go out there and play hard, do your best, play good baseball if you want to win.
And get some hits, like the Pirates did last night against the Milwaukee Brewers. The Bucks taking on the American League Houston Astros. Coming up next.
To you by Toyota. Now's the time to go places with Toyota. Visit buyatoyota.com for special offers. And by PNC for the achiever in you. Let's go Bucks.
Jeanmar Gomez taking the mound for the Pirates. Making his 4th start, his 9th appearance. He's done well. As the Pirates open up a 3-game series interleague series against the Houston Astros. Bo Porter, the rookie skipper, has this lineup. The Astros, by the way, 11-30 on the year. Robbie Grossman, former Pirate minor leaguer. Jake Elmore at second base. Jason Castro is the catcher. Chris Carter leads the team with 9 homers, 22 runs batted in, and 22 runs scored. J.D. Martinez at left. Veteran Carlos Pena at first. Matt Dominguez, the third baseman. Marwin Gonzalez at short, and Jordan Lyles on the mound.
Take a look at Jim Marr's numbers, brought to you by Chevrolet. They are pretty darn good. Opponent batting average just .204. Really done well as a starter. The whip, the walks, and hits together per innings pitched. An excellent number. He's actually had to deal with less base runners than innings pitched as a starting pitcher. None of his numbers bad whatsoever. The thing he needs to do tonight, though, Greg, push it through the 6 innings. Get that 6th inning under his belt, continue his progress, and he's really going to put a claim in on one of those starting spots.
Check out the defense behind him. In center field, of course, Andrew McCutchen. In right field, it's Travis Snyder with Starling Marte in left. Corner infielders, Alvarez and Jones. Clint Farmas spent a year with the Astros. Neil Walker at second, and Russell Martin behind the plate. Russell Martin pretty much stopping the running game last night. Free Shirt Friday thanks to Root Sports. Raise the Jolly Roger t-shirts given away, and Bucks hoping to do that a little over a couple hours from right now. Ball 1 on Robbie Grossman, one of the players traded to Houston last summer for Wandy Rodriguez. Grossman, the switch hitter, takes a strike. It's 1-1 off to a slow big league start. He was called up when Justin Maxwell was placed on the disabled list. And another strike. Home plate umpire Dale Scott. Pirates honoring the Armed Forces camo jerseys tonight and tomorrow. Armed Forces Day tomorrow. This is Armed Forces Week. This ball fouled out of play. It stays 1-2 on Grossman. Andrew McCutchen. And camo caps as well. Camo P. And maybe a broken bat. Gap shot for Grossman. Into left center field. Robbie Grossman doubles to start the ball game.
Take a look and see where that pitch was. A breaking ball down and away. Tried to backdoor it. Maybe looking for a strike 3 pitch. Looking. Didn't get it. Grossman whacked it hard into the gap. Now the Astros in a good position and perhaps strike first in this ball game. Doesn't matter what their record is. You have to go out and play the game.
Ball bunted. A good bunt. Gomez will field and throw and get Jake Elmore, sacrificing Grossman to third.
The sport of baseball, the poorest team is going to beat even the good teams a third of the time. On any given night, if you're not playing hard and playing well, doesn't matter who's out there, you're going to lose.
Infield back will concede a run. Jason Castro, the left-hand hitting catcher, faces Gomez, hitting .241. And takes a strike on the outer half. Gomez last time was matched up against the Mets ace Matt Harvey in New York. Really had to leave the game because he was hit on the right calf and it started to tighten up on him. He's just fine tonight. And Jason Castro scoots out of the way. That was a big assignment for him, matched up against the phenom Matt Harvey. And he pitched well on Sunday. The Pirates won that game 3-2.
We gave a couple of hits in 5 innings, and
As I said, his goal tonight has to be to get through 6.
1 ball, 1 strike. Well, that's cracked deep to center field. McCutchen to the warning track, makes the catch. 1-0 Houston. Castro brings in the run, his 10th RBI. Robbie Grossman, who doubled to start the game, crosses the plate. It's 1-0 Houston.
Just the sound of the bat on that one made you worry about it getting over the fence. But that's okay right there. You trade that out, or trade that run for the out. You don't want to fall behind, obviously, early on, but it's just that 1 run.
Here's Chris Carter. Carter hitting .217, 9 homers, 22 runs batted in. And a base hit for Carter. Double sacrifice fly to the warning track, and a base hit for the right fielder Chris Carter. These Astros are continuing a road trip. They were taking on the Detroit Tigers. And they won the finale of that series on Wednesday. They had a day off in Pittsburgh yesterday. Bo Porter's team 11-30. Identical record as the Miami Marlins. 2 worst records in baseball, 11 wins, 30 losses. J.D. Martinez. Gets this ball in the air to shallow right. Walker calls for it. Makes the catch. So the Astros strike first in the first, and now the Bucks come to bat. And the Pirates from PNC Park. Game 1 of 3. This is the 3rd interleague game of the season for the Pirates. The first for Houston. The starting lineup for the Bucks, brought to you by Toyota. Starling Marte, Travis Snyder, Andrew McCutchen, 1-2-3. Garrett Jones hits cleanup and 6 for 12 lifetime against Jordan Lyles. Neil Walker will follow, then Russell Martin, Pedro Alvarez, Clint Barmas, and Janmar Gomez. Starling Marte hitting .315, takes a strike.
Take a look at Lyles' numbers on the year. They're not really all that pretty. Look at the ERA. It way up there. And if you would have put the numbers against the Pirates up there instead, they would have looked about the same.
And hit by a pitch.
And Marte continues to get on base in the first inning.
And oftentimes via the hit by pitch. He's second in the league behind Shin-Soo Choo in that department.
That one hurt him a little bit. Ouch. Your kidney right about there, Greg?
I think so.
Kidney punch.
9th time he's been hit by a pitch this season. And as you said, Bobby just continues to get on base in that first inning. Let's see if the Pirates don't try to run. They were successful a couple times last night, including Travis Snyder.
Pedro
Alvarez.
A couple of important steals. They came with 2 outs. Got themselves in the scoring position.
Nobody has tried to steal yet this season against Lyles, who spent part of this year in the minor leagues. And there goes Marte, but a stumble, and he stops and heads back to first.
He did that, I think, the last time he tried to steal a base.
What's interesting about that, is that Clint Hurdle gathered him in the dugout after that, and he said, from now on, keep going. If you stumble, just go. But I think there was probably a pretty good move there for Marte. That was a pretty significant stumble there. 1 ball, 1 strike. "15 steals against Lyles in his career. Only 4 have been caught. And this season, Jason Castro has thrown out 4 out of 22. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. It sure looked as though last night when Snyder hit that tremendous home run, that's some 458 feet that rolled into the river, sure looked as though the pitcher, Hiram Burgos, was really concerned about Marte. He was in the 5th inning last night. It broke a 1-1 tie.
Anytime he's on, you better be concerned with him. He's quickly turning into one of the better base stealers in the league.
2-1 count. And now time is called.
You can be concerned with somebody and not have it take away from what you do at the plate. That's the whole key of that. And I think where you were getting at, Greg, is that Burgos maybe
too concerned.
That he wasn't pulling that off, that he was allowing his pitches to be affected by Marte being at first base, which could be right about it.
There he goes. Pitch is taken for a ball, and it's an out call. Oh, Marte looked as though he had beaten that throw, but the out call made at second base by Todd Titchener. Marte is caught stealing, and Erwin Gonzalez applied the tag.
Not a real good jump, and he took time to look over his shoulder. Awfully close. It didn't look like he got a good jump at all, and then did see him look over his shoulder. That always takes time. So you guys will do that on a hit and run, but most players on a straight steal, they won't look back because they know it's going to maybe cost them a half a step.
This will be an easy play for Elmore. Snyder's retired, 2 down, 1-0 Houston. Jake Elmore up for Jose Altuve, who's on the bereavement list. Jordan Lyles, former supplemental first-round pick of the Houston Astros, 2008. Florence, South Carolina native. He's just 22 years old. The Astros still have high hopes for Jordan Lyles as McCutchen steps in, hitting .265. He was 2 for 5 with an RBI and just continues almost every at bat, whether he gets a hit or not, to hit the ball hard somewhere. Ball hit hard to center field. Grossman back, warning track, wall, and it is gone. Andrew McCutchen ties it at 1, his 6th.
Good call, Greg. Just about every time hits the ball hard somewhere. Well, he hit that one hard right at the Pirate bullpen.
Here it is again. Wow, fastball right down the middle, elevated a little bit. If he asked McCutchen, where do you want it?
Where was the best spot for you?
That would have been probably
right
where he would have asked for it. But just because you get that pitch, I mean,
you still got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, you still have to take advantage of it. You'll see a lot of pitches that are right there get popped up, lazy fly ball, but Kutcher's having none of that.
That's a long
the
way
Astros bullpen.
into the Pirates bullpen.
He had about 425, 430 maybe.
Shift on Jones. They will have their second baseman Elmore play a shallow right. Dominguez playing the shortstop position. 2-1 the count. Two and two. Estimated distance on that McCutchen home run, 437 feet. Bob, you were
7 feet
really
short.
good, man. Holy
7
mackerel.
feet short. Right?
How do you do that? Checks in the dirt. Appeal. No. Third base umpire Clint Fagan said Jones did not offer. Dale Scott, the crew chief, with C.B. Buckner at first, Todd Titchener at second, and Clint Fagan at third. 3-2 on Jones. And it's ball four. He's aboard for Walker. Jordan Lyles has walked 7 now, 1 intentionally, in just over 14 innings. This Houston Astros pitching staff really struggling. The worst earned run average in Major League Baseball collectively, 576. And now Walker. 1 for 4 last night. RBI single in the 6th. Floodgates open last night against the Brewers thanks to an error on their shortstop Segura, and 1 out later the barrage. A Marte double and then consecutive singles from Snyder, McCutchen, Jones, and Walker to put the game away.
Nothing like punching some hits to break things open. Consecutive base hits.
There for a strike to even the count. 1 ball, 1 strike on Neil Walker. McCutchen's home run has tied this thing up. Walker playing his 5th game since coming off the disabled list on Monday. He's 4 out of 15 in 4 games. 1 ball, 1 strike. And takes 2-1. Pirates have gone 13-5 in Walker's last 18 games. People wonder about what happened the second half of last year. They point to nobody knows for sure. The pitching staff obviously had a lot to do with it. But the fact that Walker was out of the lineup for much of the last month of the season was also a big part of that. He's a huge part of this lineup. And now it's 3-1. And time is called. Catcher Castro goes out. First baseman Pena comes to the mound. Young Jordan Lyles hit Marte to start the first inning against Pittsburgh, and then got a break when Castro threw out Marte. He got Snyder to ground out, but the home run to McCutchen and a Jones walk, and now falling behind Walker, 3-1.
Had an opportunity for a nice quick inning, and he's let that get by the boards, and now in danger of walking Walker. That would be, if he does throw ball 4, excuse me, that's pitch number 21. And that's what happens to sometimes the younger pitchers. They let things just get away from them. They let opportunities to make it easy on themselves slip by. You give up that home run, and then you start getting a little gun shy, starting to pick here and there, and then you walk the next guy, and then you go 3-1.
Staying away from Walker. Goes up. 3-2 the count. Jones off on the pitch. Should Walker reach, Russell Martin would come to the plate here in the first inning against Jordan Lyles. McCutcheon's home run, his 6th. Ties the game at 1. Another 3-2 pitch. And another foul ball. First base coach Rick Sofield gathers it in. Walker hitting from the left side. Sofield back over at first, and well, Nick Leyva's had a tough week. The Pirates' third base coach. 10 days ago, his dad discovered he had cancer. Bert Leyva passed away last night. 10 days after he discovered cancer in his body. Died at the age of 77. Nick Leyva will head back to Southern California in midweek for the funeral. And there's ball 4. And now the Pirates have Russell Martin coming to the plate. And Jordan Lyles forced to face yet another hitter. And I imagine this is pretty common, Bob, with this Houston Astros team. Visits to the mound. Doug Brocail.
Yeah, it's got to be common when you look at what their pitching has done this year. But this, to me, is just the classic first inning of a young starter that is getting a little afraid of the bat. He had 2 quick outs. He ended up putting on Marte, but he was eliminated with the steal. Okay, you caught a break there. Good, And then a ground ball out, just an easy ground ball. So there's 2 outs, nobody on. So you laid one right down the middle to McCutcheon. He hit it out of the ballpark. Okay, still 2 outs, nobody on. But then he started worrying. Oh, I gave up a long home run. So he, starts nipping here and there. Base on balls. Next guy gets up there. Nip here and there. Full count. Couple foul balls. Base on balls. Now he throws ball 1 with the 25th pitch of the inning. And now he's got a guy up there that's, pretty darn good hitter for the extra bases. Look at the OPS, 907. So now if Russell Martin finds a chalk line, maybe puts one up a gap, now not only does his pitch count get up there, now he's down by 3 runs.
Didn't want to. Breaking ball, it's 1-1.
Be aggressive in that strike zone early on. He caught a break right there. I mean, that was a breaking ball well out of the strike zone. Shouldn't have been swung at. But Russell just a little over anxious. But now it should be 2-0. Now what is he going to do? At some point, you have to start throwing strikes to somebody. You better do it earlier than later.
1 ball, 1 strike. And now out in front of Martin, 1-2.
And Russell just a little over anxious. He hasn't seen a strike yet after the previous 2 hitters walked. And he's behind the count 1-2.
Off of Martin's foot. And will stay 1-2. Martin with 10 doubles to lead the club. AGH cam. One ball, 2 strikes. Jordan Lyles has punched out 13 in 14 innings. Two balls, 2 strikes. Martin not an easy man to strike out. Usually has extended at bats. Sees a lot of pitches. And Lyles has thrown 29 this inning. How about that?
Oh, he's everywhere.
And laying off that breaking ball, 3-2 the count now. So both Jones and Walker will be off on the pitch. Pedro Alvarez on deck.
What I think is funny about that strike zone, the only one that's down the middle, that was the pitch he threw after he luckily got ahead 1-2. He gets ahead 1-2, and then he throws a fastball right above out over the plate right there.
Check swing.
So I mean that shows you no command of the pitches. The one pitch that should have been off the plate is the only one he threw on the plate.
Young pitcher Jordan Lyles.
He's got a lot of talent.
Yeah,
he's got a great arm, throws hard, looks like good sharp breaking balls, but not showing a lot of command, and I think he's probably made some bad decisions during this inning. You're not really in somebody's head, so I couldn't say that for sure, but I'm guessing he has.
Looks like he's going to get out of it and throw to first base. Dominguez looks to second and throws out Martin at first. 32 pitches in that first inning. One of them went into the Pirates bullpen. 1-1.
I'm Robbie. It's Mikowski. Tonight is Free Shirt Friday, as is every Friday here at the ballpark. And tonight, the T-shirt giveaway is sponsored by none other than Root Sports, a nice Pirates camo T-shirt with the Root Sports logo right there in the background. Pretty cool thing. And tonight, one of our employees threw out the ceremonial first pitch. It was Matt Wamsley, our technical director. There he is chatting up and getting a little strategy from team president Frank Coonelly. Wamsley on the mound wearing his Kenta Colby jersey, of course. And here comes the pitch. And, well, I'll quote Bob Uecker, just a little bit outside. Greg and Bob, nowhere near the strike zone, but a good night for Matt Wamsley, one of our employees, getting the chance to throw out the first pitch, and also a lot of pretty cool T-shirts being given out here at the ballpark tonight, like that one.
Excellent. And Robbie, I think that was an intentional, that was a right-hand hitter in the batter's box. I think he buzzed the right-hand hitter. I understand Matt has a little
bit. I think when it comes to those first pitches, if it's catchable and it doesn't bounce, it's a strike.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a rule of thumb that should go by. So nice toss.
Now Carlos Pena, no surprise to shift on him. Pena hitting .231 with 3 homers, 10 RBIs. He's walked 21 times. 35 years old today. Former first-round pick of the Texas Rangers in 1998. Returned to Tampa Bay for a season last year and hit .197 with 19 homers, 61 runs batted in, and 87 walks drawn. Top 5 in the American League. Hit under 200. Slick fielding first baseman with some power. And a ground ball to the shortstop over the second base side. Farmas on the first. One down brings up Matt Dominguez. Jeanmar Gomez was traded over from the Cleveland Indians this winter. Long shot to make the club as a starter. But he's been a very valuable long man.
Yeah, he really did a great job in his original role as the long guy out of the bullpen, first in. Real nice kind of spot start there in Milwaukee, and that opened the door, and right now he's taking off with things.
Ray Searage watching Gomez deliver a pitch outside to Dominguez. It's almost like Gomez is just keeping the seat warm for Charlie Morton. Ball bounced to short. It's going to be a 6-3. And Jones will come off the bag to apply the tag on Dominguez. Bucks host the Astros tomorrow at 7:05. First 25,000 fans will take home an A.J. Burnett replica camo jersey bobblehead thanks to Xfinity. Plus, you can get to the game early tomorrow for Team Photo Fest. Take pictures of your favorite Buccos right on the field at PNC Park. For tickets, go to Pirates.com. Make sure you enter the Trib Total Media home plate gate starting at 4 o'clock tomorrow for Team Photo Fest. A.J. Burnett. To his right, Jeff Locke, Charlie Morton. Seated between Locke and Gabby Sanchez. This ball hit toward the gap in left center field. Marte over, and he's there. 7 pitches taking care of the Astros for Jeanmar Gomez. Go to the bottom of the second. It's a 1-1 ball game. You enjoy a cold one. Look forward to Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Oh, that's a great shot there. Thank you for your service. Armed Service Week. Pirates honoring the Armed Forces, wearing camo jerseys tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow officially Armed Forces Day. And Pedro Alvarez takes ball 1. 1 for 7 lifetime against Lyles. 0 for 2 with a rare walk yesterday. Ball 1 strike. Got a piece of the home plate umpire Dale Scott.
AJ's pitching tomorrow, isn't he? Might have to find some nighttime camo. Something that's dark.
Yeah. That's right, because he's been wearing the alternate black jersey tops. He and Jeff Locke.
Pitching very well in that top, leading the league in strikeouts. I wonder if they got a little like night camo.
I don't think so. I think they're going to be these. But I wonder what that's like for a guy that must be some kind of a superstition because he wants to wear the black jersey. So the team wears the black jerseys. So do you think that would play into, in this case, Burnett's mind tomorrow that, I'm not wearing the jersey top for the first time tomorrow?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I would say no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so. He's been around for so long and been through so much that
I think he just likes the look.
Worry about it too much.
I think he just likes the look. Yeah. Boy, Alvarez went down to get it and lines it to right field. Back to make the catch is Carter. Well, he just golfed that one.
Well, Lyles needs an inning like Gomez had, where he just goes out, throws a couple pitches, gets his pitch count back in shape. Well, got a pretty good pitch to hit it that hard, down and away.
Lyles, as we said, 22 years old, spent the majority of the last couple of years as the Major League's youngest starter. 45 big league appearances, 40 starts before turning 22 this past off season. Jordan Lyles, second in Houston Astros history in starts before the age of 22. Larry Dierker tops that list. Jordan Lyles second. Fouled out of play by Clint Barmas, who has a 7-game hitting streak. Batting .385 during this stretch. In his last 15 games, batting .370. He goes down and tries to hit a ball in the dirt. Strikes out.
It went like he did last night. That ball he golfed the last night off the left field fence. Similar spot. He was able to go down and get it. Ball last night was down and in, not quite that far, but that far away from that.
Pitcher Jeanmar Gomez 1 for 9.
Greg, if Gomez, I know that he's just, like you say, I think a lot of people think he's holding a spot, but if he continues to pitch well, how do you take him out of the rotation?
Yeah, I think that'd be a tough thing to do.
I mean, if he's one of your best 5 starters, and I know he hasn't gone deep into a ball game yet. That's the next test. He's got to start going deeper in a ball game. But if he gets to where he's going 6-7 innings and giving up 1 or 2 runs, it's going to be tough to put somebody else in his spot. Because that's what it all boils down to is, especially when you're competing to win the championship like the Pirates look like they're going to be doing this year. It's the guys that do the job, they get the bulk of the playing time.
Charlie Morton, you saw in the dugout, made a rehab start for AA Altoona yesterday. He still has at least 3 more. So you're talking about 3 weeks at best. Strike 3 call. 1, 2, 3. The Pirates go down against Jordan Lyles. We're tied at 1.
Three of the best catches that we have seen to date in the career of Andrew McCutchen. And fans, we want your input tonight via the short code texting. It's 412-412. We want you to vote for which catch you may think is the best that we have seen. The one at New York Mets, at Houston, or last night against the Milwaukee Brewers. If it's the first catch, text the number 1 to 412-412. If you think it's the sliding catch he made in Houston, that was actually off his current teammate, Clint Barmas, text the number 2 to the short code 412-412. Or if you think last night's catch was the best, text 3 to the short code. We'll be bringing the results throughout the night tonight. And the final poll, plus you'll hear from Andrew McCutchen in Pirates postgame tonight when it's all said and done. Greg, how about that?
All right. Wow, look at this right away. The catch in New York, which was my call, the big city slide, I call it. Text 1 to 412-412 if you agree with those that have already voted. The over and under catch in Houston. So that's text 2, 412-412, or the sunny side up catch. The
you
one
call it the big city slide?
I do.
Is that what you called it as it was happening?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And McCutchen with the big city slide makes the play. Is that
you don't remember that?
How it went?
You don't remember that?
I was just wondering if that's the way it was.
How about you now? What do you like?
I'm going to withhold mine for a moment.
Oh.
You know, I think the one that at first glance that looks the least impressive was last night's catch. But there were a couple of things about that catch that I think we could point out.
Gomez strikes out the pitcher Jordan Lyles.
He was looking straight back into a bright sun as he was making that catch. And it was a perfectly timed leap. He catches that ball right at the height of his jump. And he didn't jump too far in front of the wall. And sometimes you see that an awful lot. Some guys will jump before they get to the wall and messes things up. So it was the timing and the degree of difficulty looking back into that sun makes that play, I think, a little harder than it looks.
Ball hit toward the gap in left center field. Marte. Slice right to him.
Because when you're first looking at it, you're like, okay, he goes back, jumps up, makes a nice play.
I don't agree with you there at all. In fact, last night, we were going crazy with that catch. Right away at first glance, we knew that was spectacular.
But still,
I knew it was going to be in the top 3 all time.
The big city slide.
Well, yeah, I didn't call that one the big city slide.
Well, did you nickname it Sunny Side Up right at that moment?
I thought about it.
Okay.
No, have you come out, Mr. Blass? I mean, Mr. Walk. Have you made a decision? Are you going to still fence ride for?
No, I know which one I like. Yeah.
You going to tell us?
Well, I like the big city slide.
Now, we had a meeting earlier tonight.
I know.
He went against it. Alvarez on to first. And how about Janmar Gomez?
This is what he has been doing every time he gets a start.
days at Pine Richland as he and his Rams battle future NFLer Paul Posluszny and the Hopewell Vikings in the 2002 WPIAL Finals. Hear the story retold on Sunday Night Classics, Future Phenoms on Field, Sunday at 8 on Root Sports. Neil Walker drew a free pass in the first inning. Jordan Lyles threw a lot of pitches in that first inning and was better in the second, a 1-2-3 second frame, and now he goes back to the top of the order. Starling Marte was hit by a pitch in the first and then was caught stealing.
Now this will be interesting to see how he goes after these guys. Is he aggressive? So far so good with Marte. Starting off, breaking ball first strike, came back inside corner, a couple of nice pitches. But he got real tentative once he got the home run hitting off of it. Now he's got to face pretty much the same hitters, we hope.
Now faces Snyder.
So you and I are voting for the big city slide, huh?
Well, I know I am.
Well, I said I like the big city slide. All three of them are quality catches. They're all different. The reason that they're great catches is there's something that's difficult about each one.
Well, we have to have Robbie chime in what his vote's going to be. Robbie and Smikowski.
I like the catch he made in Houston for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was on his current teammate Clint Barmers. They could trash talk about it. And I asked Clint Barmers about it, what he remembers from that catch. He said, "What are you talking about? I don't even remember that catch at all." I said, "Well, he made that catch off you." He goes, "What I do remember about Kutch is when we played him a couple of years ago when I was with the Rockies, Kutch won the first 2 games of the 3-game series with his glove, making some spectacular defensive plays," is what Barmers remembers. Then he remembers the 3rd game on a Sunday afternoon when Kutch had a day off, and that was the only game they won of the series. He goes, "There are my memories of Andrew McCutchen playing defense against me."
So he doesn't recall the over and under catch, and that's the one that you're voting for.
He does not, and that might be the best.
And here's
catch.
another thing I'm going to point out here, Robbie. You like it because they can trash talk. We're talking about Clint Barmers here.
This is true.
Yes.
Clint Barmers and trash talk are not
exactly
two things that you'd put together. But he had to.
Or McCutchen, for that matter.
But Bob, listen for a second.
Right.
He had to avoid Neil Walker's glove and possibly avoid colliding with Neil Walker on that catch. It could have been dangerous.
Yeah, could have been. I agree. It was a difficult catch. It was a good catch. Deserves to be in the group of 3. One of the reasons it's so tough, Robbie didn't bring up, is it's indoors. You're looking up into the ceiling, all the girders and all that stuff, and trying to pick out the baseball as you're sliding along your back. So the degree of difficulty was pretty tough on that one.
Now talking offense, our Day Automotive key matchup. Andrew McCutchen against Jordan Lyles in his career, 9 out of 14. And Lyles in his career against Pittsburgh, 0-4. Thanks to Day Automotive. We're going to make your day. Andrew McCutchen made everybody's day when he homered to tie the game in the first. And Steve and I were talking last night, Bob, about McCutchen being one of those guys that you like Clemente. Steve said you just can't take your eyes off of him. He's going to do something special on that field, either offensively or defensively. You love to see him run the bases. You love to see him run into the alley, make a great catch, as we saw. And of course, Clemente, folks that got a chance to see him, the great one, in the Hall of Fame because of what he did with that glove, that arm, that bat. 3-2 the count remains. Here's a tweet thanks to AT&T, hashtag Bucks Booth. Devin JB, Kutch has such raw natural power, beautiful blast. And that it was into the Pirates bullpen.
Great bat speed.
Bounces this ball to short. Gonzalez throws out Andrew McCutchen. Lyles has settled down. He has set down 7 straight. It's a 1-1 game.
what Steve was saying, you can't take your eyes off him. He's a true superstar. No telling what he's going to do all the time. And he does this kind of stuff too. This is a routine out. Look at the way he goes down the line every single time like that on a routine ground ball. He's a superstar, and he plays like that. That's a rare commodity. And that's what I think is really one of the hallmarks of this team. He's not the only guy that on routine plays when nobody's looking is going 110%.
Who was it that said you can't help if you're a teammate do the same thing if your star's doing that?
Exactly.
I better do it. That's leadership.
Yep. Yeah, it's not the speeches. It's the way you play on the field that shows the way.
Line drive, and look at Pedro Alvarez, the shortstop, with that shift on. Castro blistered the ball, but Alvarez right there.
That ball was hit real hard, but just another quick out when it comes right down to it.
Shift on, Jeff Bannister, bench coach. Ball one on Chris Carter.
And modern baseball, there's almost some kind of a shift on every hitter that comes up there, just about. You wouldn't call what they have right now with Carter up there, a couple rows back, a true shift, but you couldn't get Walker up the middle much more without saying they're shifted.
They have become more and more aggressive, have the Pirates. Even this year, you can see them being more aggressive.
You can see Walker. I mean, he's pretty much taken away the middle of the field.
Somebody asked Hurdle about that yesterday when he played, and I know you can concur, Bob, that he said when I hit a hard ball up the middle, it was a hit. It was a guarantee. Not anymore. Hit high in the air to left. Marte. 2 quick outs. MLB.com at bat, the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At bat delivers Pirates baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Pirates.com for details. Great night to take in a Pirates baseball game. As J.D. Martinez steps to the plate with 2 outs and no one on. 9 in a row retired now by Jeanmar Gomez. Weather finally starting to cooperate.
It has been gorgeous these last couple of nights.
Look at that shot.
You know, it's a beautiful view. There's no doubt about that. It's just.
Oh, no doubt about how Jeanmar Gomez, talk about tremendous, getting quick outs, and he has now set down 10 in a row, 1-1. road ahead for the Pirates, brought to you by Nissan. Tomorrow, former Pirate Eric Bedard for the Astros against A.J. Burnett. And then this series will conclude on Sunday. Jeff Locke for the Pirates. Lucas Harrell will start. That was announced earlier today rather than Bud Norris, who tweaked his back throwing warm-up pitches before the 6th inning in his start against the Tigers. Ball 1 on Garrett Jones. Lyles has retired 7 straight. Falls behind Jones 2-0. Jones, Walker, and Russell Martin. Lyles, those numbers we showed you, his career against the Pirates, has struggled. Ball hit hard right at the center fielder, Robbie Grossman.
That's got to really bother the hitters, don't you think? Huh. You'll really do a great job at the plate. You put a real good swing on the ball. You center it up like this. Wham. And it just is an AB. That'll be frustrating.
8 straight now set down by Jordan Lyles following his walk to Neil Walker in the first. It's going to be out of play. Oh, 2. Bucks have won 6 of their last 7. They're now 24-17 on the year, and only the St. Louis Cardinals have a better record than the Pirates since April the 8th. The Pirates started out 1-5.
I like that music they just played back there.
It should be for Genmar Gomez.
Well, they should play that when he comes to the plate. It'd be great. Not working on that chewing gum. He's got to be very happy with the start he's getting out of Gomez. It's a kind of a little unexpected find so far.
In the air to center, Grossman coming in. Makes the catch. A line out. And a pop out to shallow center. Robbie Grossman making the play. He has played every game since his call-up. Jordan Lyles wants a new baseball. Russell Martin bounced to short to end the first inning. Right-handed batters this season are hitting Jordan Lyles at a .394 clip. Dribbler, a tough play. Bare hand, throw to first, and Pena can't hang on. Don't know if it would have been an out call anyway. Dominguez did all he could. A throw in the dirt, and it's a base hit for Russell Martin with 2 away.
Little chop ball up the line. I think he would have been out. Yeah. That would have been out. He would have picked it.
Pedro Alvarez now. He lined out sharply to right fielder Chris Carter. A ball that was down and away. No strikes on Alvarez.
Good cut.
Be very careful. Two and 0 on Alvarez. Got a fastball and fouled it back. 6 home runs this season. He has driven in 18. One of the real encouraging things that we have talked about this for the past several games. Pirates winning despite the fact that Alvarez had a mini streak a while back, but you know he can go on a tear. And Bob said it earlier, I think on the pregame, that the thing about it is you don't necessarily have to rely on Alvarez or even McCutcheon.
Somebody different every night.
Last night, Snyder. Walker the night before. The ball bounced. Is that going to sneak in? How about that? You want to talk about a seeing eye single, and how about the 2 hits after 2 outs against Lyles here in the 4th inning?
Well, you know what I was thinking about watching Alvarez hit, Greg, was they don't really have a true shift on Alvarez.
I was
and
going to
if
ask
they
you that.
would have, that would have been an easy out. But they left the shortstop. There you see him over on the shortstop side. And he barely missed him. I mean, just off the end of his glove as he went for that dive. If he's playing the same distance over on the other side, he makes that. It's going to be a routine play.
If they shift Alvarez like they shift Jones, it's a routine play. That's bizarre.
You know, all teams basically look at the same stuff nowadays. They have the same spreadsheets, everything computerized. You know, maybe they're interpreted a little bit different. But not much information is hid from anybody. I mean, everybody, there's so much stuff out there, it's almost overwhelming. Heck, even the information announcers get nowadays are overwhelming at times. Imagine what it is for the managers and coaches and players. So you have to look at all that stuff, make your decisions of, okay, do we shift way over on this guy, a little bit on this play, just kind of shade the middle on this guy. Of course, all those decisions are made well before the game. You're not making it up on the fly. Stuff's all planned out.
In the dirt. Clint Farmas. Martin holds his ground. The block by Castro. And at first base is Pedro Alvarez. 1 ball, 1 strike on Barmas, who spent the 2011 season with the Astros. In the air to center, Grossman back, and Grossman there. Pirates strand a couple. It's still a 1-1 ball game.
July 17, 2011, a fantastic catch by Andrew McCutcheon, one of the great catches he's made in his career in Houston off Clint Barmas. And we're taking your text votes. I think this is the best catch that Kutch has made of the three that we're showing tonight. And if you agree with me, text the number 2 to our short code 412-412. If you've been tuned in all night, you remember the catch he made at New York against the Mets, the Citi Field slide. And then last night's catch against the Milwaukee Brewers off the bat of Ryan Braun, where he crashed into the center field wall, avoiding the sun coming from the shade with a nice catch. And so far, I'm in second place. Greg Brown, do you think the catch with the Mets was the best catch that he made?
I do, and I remember that catch. Unlike Clint Barmas in your selection, Clint Barmas doesn't even recall. He was on the field and doesn't recall that one.
I don't care which one wins. I just want Robbie's to lose.
Well, thank you, Bob. I do appreciate that.
Just kidding, Robbie. Just kidding.
That was a fantastic catch.
Now you know how I feel.
He had to
Robbie.
avoid Neil Walker, and he
Robbie,
had to slide.
how many
and catch that
times
ball.
when you were growing up did you lay in the backyard and just kind of in the grass, look up, and you're laying on your back, throw balls up and catch them? 1,000 times.
Well, people are running by you, jumping over you.
If you have
I just had
brothers
my
and
parent,
stuff.
hey, Mom, can you run
Get
by me
brothers.
while I slide?
Get
catch this
brothers,
ball?
they're running all around like that. It's almost training you to make that catch.
Well, people are agreeing with Robbie.
Oh, I know. That's worrisome right there. It's worrisome. Look at that. It's got momentum.
It's almost like a vote for Robbie is a vote against you.
Really, the Houston catch has momentum, it looks like.
2-0 the count on Pena. Jonmar Gomez has set down 10 in a row. He got Pena to ground to second base. There's a strike.
Hey, Greg, how come play-by-play guys would say that Carlos Pena swings from the left side when it's obviously the right side?
From our vantage point, you mean?
Well, no, from any way you look at it. He's swinging from the right side.
From Gomez's vantage point?
Where's the front of the plate? What's the right side of the plate?
Well, you are.
Huh? That's the right side of the plate over there. That's the right side of the field. That's the right field foul line. The foul line that goes through the batter's box he's standing in. He swings from the right side.
What did you say when you...
but play-by-play guys say...
What did you say? Or what would you say if you were calling play-by-play?
He's swinging from the right side.
Did you do that when you were playing ball?
Well, I didn't. I played. I didn't talk about it.
No.
Played the game. Like Steve.
And John.
Yeah.
So should I say from now on?
Well,
I've
I've always wondered about that. Because that's the right side of home plate he's standing next to.
Well, it's actually he's batting from the left side in terms of he's a left-hand hitter. I think that's what play-by-play guys do. There's Barmas.
Yeah, but that's not true. He's not batting from the left side.
What side was Barmas on?
He's batting from the right side. He was on the right side of the field. The same side that Pena was hitting from.
Who's on first? Yeah, why do you baseball players call these foul poles when they're actually fair poles? You played the game. Tell me.
That's a good question, Greg. See, when you say a good question, I say that's a good question, Greg. I come up with a good question, and you try to argue with me about it. So I give you credit when you.
If I had thought that was a good question, you know I would have said good question, Bob.
Dominguez is hitting from the left side of the plate.
That's what Bob says.
It's hitting from the left side of the plate.
That's what Bob says. That's fine.
Well, we know where the front of the plate is. We know where left field is. We know where the left field foul line is. We know where the left side of the infield is. So why is he hitting from the right side? No, that's not the case.
Okay, he's hitting from?
He's hitting from the left side.
There we go. And he hits one deep to left.
Left field.
Marte giving it a shot. That's a home
Did he get
run.
glove on it? No.
A home run to give the Astros a 2-1 lead, but what an effort. The home run for Matt Dominguez, his third. 2-1 Astros.
It was a great effort. trying to, willing to get up into those seats, and he definitely did that. How far was that a miss? Close.
Marte went up, did all he could.
Very athletic. That would have been a catch that we would have been talking about for a long time.
This was the play that Garmis made. The ground ball by Pena just before the Dominguez home run. Get a shot here. A look at the effort, and let's listen. Good try from Marte, but 2-1 Houston now. 2-1 count on Marwin Gonzalez. Two and two, wants to come right back and get Marwin Gonzalez here. Gonzalez lined out to left field in the second.
Mark, you want to fall into that the trap of giving up the solo home run and then starting to get a little too fine and get yourself in trouble. And he's gone right after Gonzalez so far.
Retired 11 in a row before the Dominguez home run.
Sister's pitch number 50.
Gonzalez, 24-year-old native of Venezuela. Traded over to the Astros from Boston for a minor league pitcher in December of 2011. Originally signed by the Cubs. And he goes down and gets that one. Stays 2-2. Marwin Gonzalez. It's a base hit into center field. And Marwin Gonzalez brings up the pitcher Jordan Lyles. Back-to-back hits. It's the fourth hit. Andrew says, Bob, I got your back. I often wonder the same thing.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it. I really did. And I come up with these legitimate questions, trying to find an answer. That's all I'm doing. I'm just trying to increase my knowledge is all.
Bob and Andrew would say that this batter is batting from the left side.
Well, and we would be correct.
Yep, you certainly would.
I'm not saying he's right or left-handed. I'm just saying what side he's hitting from.
Sacrifice.
Play-by-play guys have been wrong for 100 years.
I know.
They're stubborn and they'll never change.
No, that's true. It's a great tradition. Baseball, the play-by-play guy being stubborn.
You know what I think started it is because for probably the first 70 of those 100 years, they were by themselves. There was no color guy.
Great point. That is a great point. See, I acknowledge that's a great point.
Yes.
Grossman takes the pitch in the dirt. Grossman doubled to start the ball game and scored on the Castro sacrifice fly. Traded over last summer along with Colton Kane and Rudy Owens, two pitchers. Owens is out for about 4 or 5 months, had surgery a stress fracture in his left foot a couple weeks ago. Grossman, who was the Pirates minor league player of the year in 2011, takes ball 2. Colton Kane is playing in low A ball in the Astros organization. He is 1-4 with a 7.12 ERA in 9 appearances for the Quad City River Bandits. And Grossman, who was a 6th round pick of the Pirates in 2008, is in the big leagues and takes a strike. Two and one. Marwin Gonzalez was sacrificed to second by Jordan Lyles. That misses. 3-1 on Grossman. Grew up in the Houston area as an Astros fan, so when he was traded last summer, he was pretty excited about joining the Astros organization. Was recalled on April the 24th. Gunning down to second base is Russell Martin in a very close play.
Martin showing off that good arm it has. A nice way to end the inning. Picking off somebody out of scoring position. There it is again. Didn't really have a good pitch to throw, and that ball was down about ankle high.
And he draws the walk, does Robbie Grossman, and brings up Jake Elmore. Well, you know, since the game the other night, Michael McHenry behind the plate with Russell Martin unable to start on Monday, and the Brewers ended up stealing 6 bases, and we pointed out that it's certainly not all McHenry's fault by any stretch. But since that time, McHenry has been out every day with Jeff Bannister, a couple other coaches, working on those throws to second base every day, early in the afternoon. Jeff Bannister and Tom Prince, who is a minor league catching instructor, is also in town. How good a catcher was Tom Prince?
Excellent. That was really his forte, was defense. Great arm, very accurate. Really an athletic guy, a lot like Russell Martin.
All right, let's go Pirates. Here is Jake Elmore.
And a dead pull hitter.
Yeah. He sure was.
When Prince was hitting, you could move everybody over to the left side.
Yeah. The right-hand hitter.
Yeah.
And a strike is called. Our producer, Adam Elmore, his cousin Jake at the plate. Adam's got the night off. Eddie Costco in the chair. Line drive and a base hit will give Houston a 3-1 lead. Base hit for Jake Elmore. (3-1) Houston.
Denmar had kind of put himself into a tough situation there. I thought when Grossman was up, he was way too careful. And now he's getting, you get the score where you're 2 runs down. Now you start being in a position where you don't have much choice. Now you got to start to be careful.
Strike on Castro.
Maybe not really horrible thing to be 2 runs down, but if you give up one more run, then it does become an issue. Now that's it. You have to stop it, and you have to make perfect pitches the rest of the time. You can't afford to go for the heart of the plate.
Runner goes from first. Martin will throw down. Oh, and it skips away, and now the runner breaking for the plate, and safe. Ball gets away from Martin. It is 4-1 Houston.
Now, 2 different opportunities to get the last out. Right there, that should have been the last out. Barmes misses it. And right there, that should have been the last out, but the ball was thrown in the dirt. That definitely should have been played. When you bounce the ball to the catcher, sometimes they handle it with that catcher's glove, sometimes they don't. E6, E4, is that what they're calling?
Sounds like it. 1 ball, 2 strikes, or E2, E4. Gave the error to Russell Martin.
I think if they see that again, they'll change it, don't you?
I think they should, but
I mean, that's not an error on Russell Martin in my mind. I mean, that's
if he makes the catch,
that's about as catch ball throw as you can make. I mean, it's right there on the money. Perfect throw.
Throw from Walker, played toward the plate, bounced past Russell Martin. Show that again, because oftentimes the official scorer sees on his monitor what you're seeing. He's in the press box, so maybe if we show it again, he'll get a better look as well. 2-2 the count on Castro.
Not that I want Barmes to get an error, but
just want to do what's right.
If I was, in my opinion, I mean that.
Well, Barmes would agree with you.
Yeah,
He'd be the first one.
That ball's got to be caught.
Yeah, he knows it. Another look.
Yeah, they'll look at it again, and they'll see that it goes right off the tip of his glove. I mean, look at that throw. That's dead perfect. Dead perfect throw.
You can't give an error on Russell Martin on that play. Two balls, 2 strikes, 4-1 Astros here. Pirates get their bullpen going. 3-2 on Castro. Vin Mazzaro loosens. Still 3-2. Jason Castro, former first-round pick, 2008, 10th overall choice out of Stanford. Sacrifice fly in the first and lined out sharply to Pedro Alvarez last inning. And he draws the walk. And Janmar Gomez all of a sudden is
out of gas,
finding himself maybe not able to get through 5 innings.
I think he's done. I think
that is it.
Yeah, Clint Hurdle's going up the steps.
Gomez breezing
through
the 4th inning, through 4, and they got the first out in the 5th easily, and then the home run by Dominguez. It'll be a double switch.
But even after that, the Lyles bunt, he got the 2nd out. But he just seemed real tentative when Grossman got up there.
Jordy Mercer will come on, part of this double switch. Vin Mazzaro coming on. In the 5th inning, Jordy Mercer on to play shortstop. He'll bat in the 9th spot. That'll be due up first in the bottom of the inning. And Vin Mazzaro is in Barmes' spot, which was the 8th position in the batting order. As Clint Hurdle looking to get multiple innings out of Vin Mazzaro in relief here in the 5th.
Now's where there's no room for error. When you're 3 runs down, you got to start making the perfect pitches. That's the difference from being a starting pitcher to a bullpen guy. In that regard, pitching out of the bullpen, and no matter whether it's early in the game, middle of the game, or as a closer, makes it a little tougher. The starter can bend a little bit. Bend but don't break. Most of the time, the reliever doesn't have that luxury.
Strike on Chris Carter. 1 ball, 1 strike. Carter 1 for 2 against Jeanmar Gomez. Fouled off to the right, 1-2. They have changed that error. Takes the air away from Martin and gives it to Clint Barmes.
I wonder if Clint will be mad at me now. I'm going to tell him you talked me into it between innings.
Two and 2. Chris Carter. Vin Mazzaro got the win the other night.
I'm not going to be able to blame it on you, but
blame what on me now?
Yes. Clint comes to me and says, "Hey, I hear you got me an error."
Well, no, I agree. I think that I'd say Clint Barmes would agree with us. I mean, how he wouldn't argue that.
I'm just kidding.
No. We're just kidding. Jeff Karstens on the disabled list. Shoulder troubles. Scheduled to make his next rehab start tomorrow with Altoona. 4 innings or 65 pitches. Our injury update is brought to you by our friends at Allegheny Sports Medicine, official medical provider of the Pirates. He's not too far behind then Charlie Morton. Here's Jordy Mercer. His first at bat. Part of the double switch. Pirates need to go to work now offensively, down 3 against Jordan Lyles. Mercer was an option to the minor leagues on Monday when Neil Walker was activated, but 2 days later, John McDonald went on the disabled list. And Mercer never even made it into a game at the AAA ND. Mercer was in the starting lineup on Wednesday night. Was 1 for 2 with a sacrifice in the Pirates' 3-1 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers. 2 balls and a strike. High in the air to center. Robbie Grossman, does he see it? No, he doesn't see it. Now he does, and makes the catch. He was up there long enough that he could find it. UFC Sports Medicine Strike Zone says, yeah, the ball was right down the middle, but Grossman didn't see it, and now he does.
And one thing there was no one else that could help him. He was wanting to help, but pretty much straight away center field. If he didn't catch it, it wasn't going to get caught. If you're heading back over toward the gap or something, and the other outfielder sees you throw your hands up, then you might get some help on it. Not back there.
Marte takes a strike. Looking for a Marte Parte.
That would be nice.
Lyles starting to gain some confidence. He had retired 9 straight before the infield hit by Martin and the ground signal by Alvarez. Then he got Barmas to end the 4th inning, and Mercer here to start the 5th. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
I'm sure he's thinking back to that first inning, though, thinking if I could have just been a little bit more efficient, I had to throw 30 pitches. So that's going to affect how far he goes in this game.
Two count on Marte. Lyles faced the Pirates September 23rd last year in Houston. Went 4 innings, gave up 3 runs. He actually made 4 starts against the Bucs last season, and he strikes out Starling Marte. His 4th. All new episode of Inside Pirates Baseball. Andrew McCutchen joins the media to interview TV chef Anthony Bourdain. The Zoltan is back and working its magic this season, and much more. New Inside Pirates Baseball, presented by Allegheny Sports Medicine, debuts tonight after Pirates postgame on Root Sports. Bob will be watching that. He's a big fan of Chef Bourdain. So is Travis Snyder. Have you and Travis discussed different ways to cook on the grill yet?
No.
I want to hear that.
Very good with the grill, to be honest with you.
What? You're not very good.
No, I'm not much of a grill guy, man. A little bit better in the kitchen.
I'm going to have to ask Lori that. I bet you're tremendous out there in the grill. There's a ball hit hard, but right to the shortstop, playing over towards second. 1, 2, 3. The Bucs go down in order, and they trail it by 3.
on Root Sports is brought to you by Barrel Automotive. We're driven to be better. And by Day Automotive. We're going to make your day. Let's go Bucks.
4-1 onto the 6th inning. First of 3 with the Houston Astros. They come to town with an 11-30 record. Robbie Grossman started the game with a double, eventually scored on a Jason Castro sacrifice fly. Andrew McCutchen tied it up with a home run in the bottom of the 1st, and 3 runs coming across the top of the 5th. 1 unearned against Junmar Gomez. J.D. Martinez has popped up and grounded out. Miami native, 20th round pick in 2009. Two balls and 2 strikes. Bo Porter's been very pleased with Martinez lately. Robbie tossed that ball.
Amazing thing is he caught it.
I'm not sure he did. There's a strike 3 call. So Vin Lazaro, who struck out Chris Carter to end the 5th, starts this inning off. The strikeout of J.D. Martinez looking.
Vinegar Vin. A little paint right on the corner.
Carlos Pena has grounded out twice. 35 years old today. Takes ball 1. So Robbie Inzmakowski, did he make that catch and then toss it to a fan? Robbie, nicely done. Great
nice
catch, Robbie.
Nice catch. Oh, it was handed to you.
Well, he made the catch. He caught it.
He made a fantastic catch, the kid. Why are we going to play everything in slow motion, make it look worse?
That didn't
like
look
last
worse.
night, I got buried for missing a ball that came in smoking hot.
That did not look worse. He handed it to you, and you took it. That was very nice of you.
He made a great catch, a young man. About
yes, he did.
8 or 9 rows
he did.
back.
Yes, he did.
Thank you.
That was a nice effort you made last night, by the way.
Thank you.
It was a better effort than Dave. Let's put it that way.
You don't mean that, Bob. It's okay.
No, I do mean it, because a lot of guys will just hide from those balls. You tried to catch it. I applaud you for that. Very good.
One and 2 the count on Carlos Pena.
It's kind of like you in that regard. The balls, you're always trying to make the catches. You don't dive
that's not true.
under the table like the rest of us.
No, I dive under the table.
Well, not early in your career. You were very aggressive and you went after
when
him.
we had places. Dave's here now. I'm in real trouble. I'm just kidding, Dave. Just kidding. Just kidding, Dave. I was just saying how much I admired your attempt at that foul ball, Dave, last night. 2-2, and now it's 3 balls and 2 strikes.
I forgot Dave was sitting back there.
Yeah.
Nobody messes with Dave.
No. Full count on Carlos Pena. And he draws the walk. It's unbelievable, this guy. 22 walks now. It's one thing he has done throughout his career. It's his fair share of home runs, draws a lot of walks. His batting average, nothing to write home about over the years, but he can get on base.
Yeah, what they always used to say, walks goes a hit.
Yep.
Not really, because hard to knock a guy in from second with a walk. But it's kind of a clever saying.
Matt Dominguez homered in the 5th. That was better than a walk.
Yeah, for sure.
He's a former first-round pick of the Marlins a few years ago. Look at the pair. It's got the camo and the Kutch dreads and a water gun. And it's 0-2 on Matt Dominguez.
I saw a crowd shot earlier, John Wayne, earlier tonight.
I thought so too. The scoreboard had him on, didn't they? I think. So John is working tonight. After all.
I saw him down there somewhere.
Yeah. And he was down there moving somewhere. He was moving from place to place. Sunday, the Bucks battle the Houston Astros. All kids 14 and under receive an A.J. Burnett replica camo jersey thanks to Chevrolet. Come early for the #1 Cochran Family Fun Zone on Federal Street and stay after the game when youngsters can run the bases. So, again, kids want to pick up these replica camo jerseys the Pirates are wearing tonight and tomorrow. They'll be given away on Sunday. And the one the Parrots wearing. Two down. A couple of strikeouts in the inning for Mazzaro. He just got Dominguez. Now faces Marwin Gonzalez. And it's ball one. Camo jerseys, beautiful weather. Buccos facing an old rival. Life is good. Let's go Bucks. Hashtag Bucks Booth. Want to know on Marwin Gonzalez. Shows bunt, takes a ball. 2 balls, no strikes. Vin Mazzaro's done good work for the Bucks since joining the club.
2 outs, pitcher on deck, man at first. You're going to bunt for a base hit? Please. Think he's really going to bunt or just show? No opinion, Greg?
Of
Never mind.
Dave Tremblay, former Pirate minor league manager and skipper of the Orioles, coaches third base. You were saying, Bob?
I was wondering if he was really going to bunt with 2 outs and a man at first.
No.
Would they pinch hit for Lyles after just 5 innings?
I don't think so.
They have a 3-run lead.
No. And now Mazzaro has fallen behind him 3-1.
We'll find out if one more wide one. If they'll pinch hit or not.
He does not get a lot of innings out of his starters, that's for sure. Bo Porter. Now they did have the day off yesterday, so that certainly comes into play. Runner goes on the 3-1 pitch, and it's bounced to short, and Jordy Mercer, a nice looking play there. Retires Marwin Gonzalez. Well, Bucks need to get it going offensively, and who better to start the bottom half of inning number 6 than Andrew McCutchen. He'll lead off. Bucks trail 4-1.
transmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Here in Pittsburgh, the Pirates trail 4-1. Bottom of the 6th. McCutchen, Jones, Walker against Jordan Lyles, who's thrown 86 pitches. And a fly ball in the first pitch here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Oh, dropped the ball, Carter, and McCutchen's going to wind up at third base. We were talking about the hustle of Andrew McCutchen on a routine pop-up. He's at third base. E9, and that might open the door.
That should be one run for sure now with nobody out. Cutchin, a little disgusted at first few steps. A little slow coming out, but right now he starts to pick it up a little bit.
Now this is when it's dropped.
And then just cruises on into third.
I'm guessing that there are many players in baseball who might have gotten to first base. But he was almost to second when that ball was dropped.
Most guys, because the ball rolled over against the fence, would be at second base. But you're right, a lot of guys, I don't want to pick on the Brewers, they're not here anymore, but I didn't say much during the game, but go ahead. How many times did you see one of their players hit a pop fly or a fly ball and never touch first base? It was amazing.
And that is a fair ball inside the line. Garrett Jones, he's going to try for two, and he's going to be there. And here come the Bucks. It's 4-2.
G.I. Jones.
RBI for G.I. Jones.
With the camo on right over the bag. Absolutely smoked it. And I wasn't convinced this was going to be a double. I thought it might get thrown out. I thought he was going to get thrown out.
So did I.
But he pushed the envelope. The throw was a little wide. He ends up getting in there easy.
125th double of his career. E9 opened the door. Now, are they just buying time?
Yeah, they might have been told to go out and talk. But it's not like this inning is Lyle's fault. First hitter hit a pop-up.
Travis Blackley was up, and so Porter asked his infielders to go buy him a little extra time. It looked like now he's coming out to talk at least. Bo Porter was involved in that controversial move a week ago. Now Paul Clemens up.
Somebody was throwing last inning, so should be ready.
So now he does call on the lefty to turn Walker around. Jordan Lyles was coasting, but then that error by Carter on a fly ball to right. And then Jones, that double inside the bag. Pirates on the move, down a couple. Some shots courtesy of the HEH cam. And the Pirates have rallied for one run. They've got Jones at second, nobody out. And Australian native Travis Blackley comes on to turn Walker around. And Walker bats from the left side now. Bob obviously not listening. What'd you think of that, Bob?
I liked it, Greg.
Bunted right at the pitcher, and the throw is going to be right there to third and get the out. Walker wants the ball right to the pitcher, and Jones is thrown out at third.
Nice play. Realizing that you had the out, the lead run out. Go ahead and take it.
Blackley was picked up when he was designated for assignment by the Oakland A's out of spring training. Big league time with the Giants and the A's. Russell Martin. A base hit for Martin. Walker to second.
Martin gets one in the inside corner and able to pull it right through the hole. Keep the line moving. Too bad that the bunt didn't get Garrett to third, but nothing to do about it now.
Alvarez now batting against the lefty, and Alvarez is actually having more success this season against left-handed pitching.
You have first, second, just one out, so you kind of have to look at the bright side of that and think it's still a great opportunity to score some runs here.
Alvarez has lined to right and singled to center.
Yeah, a bouncer just to the right of the second base bag. They're definitely not playing any kind of a shift now. Shortstop well over to the left. He's even going to back off now when the pitch goes home to his traditional shortstop position. Playing a little straight up for Alvarez. Now they really overplay in the outfield. When you look at Grossman at center, he's way over.
Well, we talk about the numbers. You would think it would show that, and they do. Alvarez 3 hits the other way.
To left field, which is in left field.
That's our left.
Left is left. Everybody's left.
Left is left.
Yeah. That's left out there.
One ball, 2 strikes on Alvarez. Gabby Sanchez comes out on deck, a right-hander in the bullpen for Houston. Two balls, 2 strikes. That's a left-hander. Tony Watson. Left-handed hitters just 3 out of 24 against Travis Blackley. He's walked a couple. Still 2-2 on Pedro Alvarez. Sitting on 18 RBIs. Gabby Sanchez would bat for the pitcher Mazzaro.
As always, they try and work Pedro down and away. That's the spot that everyone tries to pitch it.
And got him swinging.
Got him down and away, down and away, down and away, down and away, and then came upstairs one time and he swung and missed.
Now a double switch. Bo Porter once Gabby Sanchez is announced. Another look at the fastball swung on and missed by Alvarez.
A little tardy on that one. That one got by him.
So Bo Porter bringing on a right-handed pitcher. And going over the switch here. We will too when we come back. Pirates 2 on, trail by 2. Presented by Iron City Beer kicks off Saturday, June the 1st, 7:15. See the Pirates take on the Reds and stay after the game. Kool and the Gang live in concert. They'll going to perform all their hits like Celebration, Ladies Night, and again all their hits. For tickets and to learn how you can watch the show from the field, go to pirates.com/concerts. Trevor Crow takes over in left. Pitcher Paul Clemens.
Not giving up many hits. 208 opponent average. Not many walks either, just 6. Need a big hit. I think we got the right guy up there too, Greg.
Saying you get a different hero every night.
This would be a great pick tonight. Gabby Sanchez comes up to pinch hit.
He is 2 for 6 as a pinch hitter.
3 RBIs. And he's walked 3 times.
Strike 1. Walker at second base. Russell Martin at first. Bucks have gotten 1 thanks to the error on Carter. In the dirt as Castro goes out to get it.
Pretty big curveball. Crowd really starting to get into it. It's a nice crowd tonight.
Yeah, it is.
Beautiful, beautiful evening. It's going to be a lot of fun this summer, Greg. Pirates playing excellent baseball. Summer's finally starting to arrive. Nope, outside. Pretty good velocity, 95.
First of 3 with Houston. And then the Cubs in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. One. Cubs were winners today over, the Mets beat the Cubs. Matt Harvey got the W. On deck is Jordy Mercer. Paul Clemens facing the pinch hitter Gabby Sanchez. Time is called. Base hit will make this a 4-3 ball game. And it's a bases loaded situation now for Jordy Mercer.
Walks now for Gabby Sanchez in those pinch hitting situations. He really does know the strike zone well. He's going to make you come after him. Ball forward. Loads it up.
Neil Walker moving to third on the free pass. Russell Martin to second. Martin had the base hit. Sanchez draws the walk. So the bases are loaded with 2 outs. And Jordy Mercer came in as part of a double switch in the 5th inning. Hit a fly ball to Robbie Grossman in his first at bat last inning.
Almost got a hit on it. That's what one that
he lost.
Grossman didn't see for a while.
Strike one. Time called. Mercer's already had some big hits. Last weekend had a 2-homer game against the New York Mets. Castro wants to talk to Clemens.
A little pacing there in the dugout. Wants to see Mercer come up with this big hit in a bad way. Just a single would most likely tie the game.
2 weeks ago, he had his first home run of the season right after he was called up to replace Neil Walker. Helped beat the Nationals here at PNC Park. Breaking ball misses. 1 ball, 1 strike on Mercer.
And that is a big breaking curveball coming through.
Wesley Wright. Looking down the road at Travis Snyder, perhaps. One ball, 1 strike. And he got him to pop up. Second baseman out, Elmore, shallow right. Makes the catch. Pirates get one. Trail by 2. Walker jersey by tuning in to this week's Sunday Night Classics. Watch Neil Walker and his Pine Richland Rams in the 2002 Whitfield Football Finals. Look for the keyword to enter for your chance to win. Watch and win during Sunday Night Classics. Future Phenoms on Field, Sunday at 8 on Root Sports. Neil Walker dropped down a bunt. Reached on a fielder's choice. He was stranded along with 2 other teammates. Pirates settled for 1 unearned run. Still down by 2 as the bullpen tries to hold the fort. Tony Watson. He'll face Trevor Crow to start the inning. A lot of kids out tonight.
Getting close to school being out. Another
couple weeks, maybe.
Couple more weeks. I think Dorn was saying he had 3 weeks to go. No, maybe what, just 2.
Doran Check, our radio engineer, who also is a teacher. Plum. Strike is called on Trevor Crow. One ball, 1 strike. Trevor Crow. First major league action since 2011. He played 15 games 2 years ago with Cleveland. Former first-round pick. Recently called up from AAA. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Trevor Crow.
Change-up action, Tony. But his bread and butter pitch is that fastball in to the guys that swing from the left side. There it is.
Tough play. McCutchen coming in, and he's not going to be able to make the catch. But they're going to get the out at second. Jordy Mercer went out, picked up the ball off the ground, and throws out Trevor Crow at second base.
A good hustle by Crow, but he just didn't have time to pull it off. They jammed pretty bad. Mercer out there a long ways. He did real heads-up play.
Great attempt, and Mercer, no chance for even a crow hop. Just throws real quickly to
might have been safe.
Neil Walker.
Tag was a little on the high side.
Wanted foul.
Let's see the foot get to the bag?
Perhaps.
Closer than I thought it was going to be.
Tapper. Watson lets it go. Alvarez guns and gets. Grossman retired. Alvarez, I think you could hear him on the mic down there say, let it go. He was going to get it, and he did.
Great decision. Excellent decision. I don't know if he was told or somebody was yelling at him or not, but he had no business getting that ball. That's Pedro's every time. 99% of the time, let your third baseman get that ball. There's not too many situations where you're better off going and making that play yourself.
I thought I heard the mic down there pick up maybe him saying, let's listen.
I think maybe that was not. Dave Clark.
Might have been.
Come on. Yeah, you know how Dave is.
Oh. Should be an easy inning for Tony Watson.
It is.
Going to keep it right here for a fine rendition of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Great crowd on hand. Bucks trail by 2. 7th inning stretch time here at PNC Park.
Take me out to the ball game.
Innings. Pirates hanging tough up at the top, just 2.5 games back in third place. Be nice to win this one tonight. Cincinnati and the Phillies tied at 3 in Philadelphia. St. Louis with a big lead over Milwaukee, though, 6-0. Got some work to be done.
Bucks have done a lot of scoring late. Marte swings and misses the first pitch against Paul Clemens. Playing tight. Two balls and a strike on Marte with Snyder to follow. And once again, it's like Castro and Pena are seemingly constantly going over there to try and settle down these young pitchers. I don't know if that's the case here, whether they're deciding what to throw here, but Pena comes over there a lot, Carlos Pena.
It looked like Clemens ended both those conversations with, yeah, all right. One of the few pitchers that lets you know what he's saying. Doesn't cover up his mouth with the glove. Kind of like how I answer you a lot. Yeah, all right.
That's popped up. It'll be into the seats, it appears. 2-2.
Usually your response to when the catcher says, hey, you're throwing good tonight. You got good stuff. Just, you got to go after these guys.
Yeah, all right. Clemens came on and walked the pinch hitter Gabby Sanchez, but got Jordy Mercer to pop out with the bases loaded. Two and two. Ground ball to the shortstop, Gonzalez. Travis Snyder comes to the plate. Now time for Bringing the Lumber, brought to you by Yellowwood. And he certainly brought the lumber. This at bat last night broke the tie. It traveled some 458 feet. Fifth inning home run, first of the season for Snyder.
I got a question, Greg. Has there ever been a baseball hit in the river closer to the boathouse than that one?
You asked that off the air earlier.
So.
I don't think so.
That's got to be the furthest toward the bridge that's ever made the water. That one just crawling in. You could barely see it, but it did make it across.
Well, if you were watching the telecast last night, you've been able to see it thanks to the great telescreening that Steve Last did last night.
It was right there.
That was about what he did, yep. Steve made it easy for you to see.
Yeah, he did. He pointed it out.
Yeah.
That was a ball, though. Wow, way out there. That it had to fight through those trees to get down into the water. I mean, that ball just would not be denied.
Sharply hit, but right at second. And 2 outs. So Clemens has gotten a pop-up, 3 ground balls. Last 3 batters he's faced. Here's McCutchen. 1 for 3 and 2 runs scored. McCutchen creeping up that run scored leaderboard. 29 now. He's in the top 10 in that department. Starling Marte is second behind Shin-Soo Choo. Most runs scored in the National League. And McCutchen is also in the top 10 of the hardest to fan in the National League. He's not striking out much at all this season. 1 ball and 1 strike.
You know, a lot of his strikeouts too earlier in the year were on pitches where he was called out on very iffy strikes. Remember, he had a little bit of a stretch there where he got called out 3 or 4 times. Somebody like McCutchen should get a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt than he was getting. Keep it down and away. Try and go outside again. Misses by a bunch.
Have to figure that this would be the last batter Clemens faces regardless. Garrett Jones on deck. Wesley Wright in the bullpen ready. Bouncing ball fair inside the third base bag. Andrew McCutchen has a 2-out double.
All right, Garrett.
Have to face the lefty, you would think.
Right down the middle with that fastball. Couldn't get that one outside. Down the line. We saw Castro drop the little finger down when he was given signs. He wanted that pitch away, and it just didn't get out there.
So Bo Porter calls on the left-hander to face Garrett Jones. See if the Pirates can maybe tie it up here. Down a couple. Two ball game, bottom of the 7th inning. Wesley Wright on, and now Brandon Inge to pinch hit for Garrett Jones with a runner at second and 2 outs. Inge takes strike 1. He's 2 for 6 as a pinch hitter. 21st appearance for Wesley Wright. Right-handed batters hitting him at a .349 clip. One ball, one strike. Inge has never faced Wright in the past. Jones was 0 for 7 previously against Wesley Wright. Good career numbers off the bench for Brandon Inge. Limited action. One ball, one strike. And now 1-2. Inge hits for Jones with 2 outs. Bucks down 2 in the 7th.
This Grossman's playing no doubles in center field, huh?
Wow.
Man. Going on a conversation with the bullpen apparently. He is way out there.
Ground ball stabbed by right. Pirates leave another base runner. And through 7, still down a couple. Interleague series. Game 1 tonight, and Houston leads it 4-2 onto the 8th. 29,743 paid attendance for Game 1.
Love you, Mom. Happy birthday.
All right, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you and Munhall, Mom. I love you.
Brandon Inge stays in the game to play first base. Hitting for Garrett Jones and hit the comebacker to Wesley Wright. Now Tony Watson. Jason Castro has hit a sacrifice fly, lined to third, and walked. Hard the other way. Marte over. Maybe with some room. Yes, just enough. In foul territory.
Covers ground, doesn't he?
He does.
He covers all the ground from the leather to the padding. This time he goes to the padding. The leather would be Kutcher's glove. Not much going to fall in between those two guys.
Think maybe a gold glove could be in Marte's future?
I would think so. He's certainly talented enough for it. Put in a couple of years. That'll look like a big gap, but they can close it down in a hurry.
Marte played a lot of center field in the minors. But we've talked about this a lot. Found out in a hurry. You need essentially 2 center fielders to patrol left and center here in this ballpark.
Yeah, a lot of times too, you want your best arm in right field, but that's not the case here either. The right field here is not all that deep. Where if you go to the wall and left, that's a long, long throw. So it's really unique in that way as far as your outfield, what they need to play the different positions.
Tonight, Travis Snyder in right.
Does a good job out in right field. I think Travis has really learned the ins and outs, the nooks and crannies of that fence behind him. Not far behind him.
Carter was swinging on a 3-0 pitch and now takes the 3-1 offering. A 1-out walk. pitcher spot. Wesley Wright going to come up and try and bunt the runner, and we're going to have a pinch runner at first base. Jimmy Paredes. Wesley Wright. Bunts it foul. Not a lot of at-bats for this reliever, but dropped out a sacrifice bunt back in May of last year.
When they put a fast guy in at first base for you, it makes it a little bit easier. Pedro's in tight. Plenty of room on the right side of the field to bunt the ball.
For this batter who's hitting from the left side. In case you've just joined us, Bob Walk trying to change a 100-year tradition. So we're going to go along with it, and I hope the rest of our colleagues throughout Major League Baseball will do the same. Let's get it right. I mean, let's get it correct. Criticizing play-by-play men was Bob earlier. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Wesley Wright.
No, they just got it wrong years ago, and they've stayed with it.
No longer.
Just pointing out facts.
I know that.
Just pointing out
what
facts.
took you so long, by the way? You've been broadcasting for 20 years, and you wait till tonight to point this out. Must have been sticking in your craw.
Somebody pointed it out to me. I can't take credit for it.
A foul ball. A strikeout.
Oh, did you see how close that came to Tony?
Boy. Russell Martin says, wow.
He almost wore that one. He wasn't expecting.
Man.
He wasn't expecting Tony to come up firing. And
Martin almost pulled a Ryan Doman.
Watch Watson's hat.
Sheesh.
Maybe it wasn't quite as close as I thought it was, but it definitely got Tony's attention as he probably heard it whiz by.
Well, and again, you can see Martin mouth. Wow.
Threw one like that the other day. AJ just cut it off.
Yeah, that's right. Who was the pitcher that Doman picked off?
So I want to say Ollendorf, but I don't know. Karstens?
Both are good guesses. I don't know. About 5 years ago, maybe.
Not a good guess.
Carlos Pena.
Good idea.
It was John Graybo.
Really?
Yep. No 1-1 on Carlos Pena.
That makes sense. The lefty would fall off to the left side of the mound.
Yep. 0-2 on Pena. Pena tonight, a couple of ground ball outs and a walk. Tony Watson pitched a scoreless 7th inning. Vin Mazzaro went 1 1/3. The starter Janmar Gomez gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned in 4 2/3 innings. A 3 spot in the 5th. Pirates scored an unearned run in the bottom of the 6th. They've got 2 more shots at these Astros. Houston has lost 16 of its last 20. They're just 5-14 on the road away from Minute Maid Park. One ball, 2 strikes. The Astros have been outscored 50-26. The 8th inning on this season.
And that's where the Pirates excel.
And the Pirates have outscored opponents 42-24 the 8th inning on. Now Pena goes the other way on a 1-2 pitch. A single to left, a rarity for sure for Carlos Pena. The batter, Matt Dominguez, whose home run in the 5th broke the 1-1 tie. Carlos Pena, base hit to left. Dave Clark, former Pirate.
I think it was Dave earlier. Remember when we were listening for a voice? Dave has about as big a booming voice as you will hear, and I think that was his voice that the field mic was picking up as he was urging his runner on.
Talking about somebody that
beat that ball out.
Great energy and enthusiasm. Great baseball man. Handful of years as third base coach for the Astros. Brief stint as interim manager. Now the runner breaks from second for third, and the ball fouled back up against the screen. Paredes took off for third. 0-1 on Matt Dominguez.
That's a smart move on his part, but he needs Pena to follow him. And that's the whole purpose of that, is get two guys in scoring position instead of one. Obviously, you can take some liberties when you're leading off second with 2 outs, because most of the time they don't hold you on.
Fastball upstairs, 94, 0-2 on Dominguez.
Glove side fastball extension, Greg.
What's that, Bob?
Glove side fastball extension.
What does that mean?
It means fastball in.
Why didn't you just say it that way then?
To the left side of the plate. I'm trying to get caught up on
the lingo.
Yes, new terminologies.
Fastball, glove side extension.
You got me thinking that. No, it's extension fastball
to the glove side.
No, it's glove side extension fastball. That's what it is. That's a spin move there. They haven't changed that
one. Wave going.
That's backside mound rotation.
That's very good. Reaching out and poking it foul.
Well, he reached a long way for that one. That was 6-7 inches off the plate.
Well into the left-hand hitter's batter's box.
Watch how far this one is outside.
Look at that.
All right, he's going to bust him in now. Here it comes. Glove side fastball extension. Oh, didn't get it in there, but that's where Russell wanted it. Saw him slide in.
Martin wanted a gun down somewhere.
Look how much energy is. He's hopping like a bunny. He's caught 8 innings of baseball, been hitting, running the bases and stuff, and right there, just out of frustration, not able to make a throw.
What's this bunny hop?
You can't I love watching him play. He's so full of energy. It's not like he's a 23, 24-year-old either. Been around a little while.
Still 2-2 on Dominguez as Watson trying to find a way to put him away and keep this a 2-run deficit.
Pitches that are up and in. Those are the ones Watson really lives by.
Pulled foul. Both runners went there on the 2-2 pitch.
Time he tried to throw a breaking ball in there. It doesn't do you a lot of good to steal third in that situation unless you can drag that trail runner with you. Then you're set up second and third. Single scores 2. Because nobody's holding the guy on at first, so he can get a great jump and easily steal second base. I don't know why more teams don't pull the double steal in these 2-out situations, because most of the time nobody's getting held on. Most of the time.
Ball does not stick in Martin's mitt. Stays 2-2. And foul tip. Now close. Watson comes to a strikeout right there.
Just hung up, almost snow coned.
Watson has given up a run in each of his last 6 outings. He's trying to put an end to that streak.
We're back now in reverse rotation.
Got him. That was a fastball with mound side extension to the glove side on the right-hand hitter's batter's box. Pirates postgame presented by Allegheny Sports Medicine. With an in-depth recap of tonight's ball game against the Stros. Here, Clint Hurdle's postgame analysis and a lot more. Paul Alexander and Kent Jacoby will take you through it.
Look at that. Get the coat on.
I believe they're getting ready already. It's the bottom of the 8th. Got this big rally going in the bottom of the 8th. Jimmy Paredes stays in the game to play right field. Neil Walker against Wesley Wright. Walker 0 for 2 with a walk. And Neil Walker batting from the right side. A base hit to start things off here in the bottom of the 8th.
Down, they got that one. That was well out of the strike zone. Soft breaking ball. Golfed it in the left field. Nice job. front of the plate.
That's going to be it for Wesley Wright. Neil Walker collects his 5th hit in 26 at-bats against a left-hander. Russell Martin will face a new pitcher as the Pirates look to at least tie things up here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Pirates have done a nice job of rallying this season. They've won in so many ways.
We're going to need a hero. Who's it going to be?
Ambriz.
Exactly been holding the hitters down. Opponents overall hitting over 300.
Porter calls on Ambriz to face Martin, but then you've got Alvarez next. So his decision was to have Ambriz face Alvarez rather than Wright facing Martin. Ball gets away, runner will take off, and he'll be there without a throw. Also, Martin was showing bunt. Walker into second.
I think Martin thinking about trying to lay down a base hit here. He's definitely going to drop that one down third base side, see if he can get himself on. He knows he's the tying run. Still got a little room on that third base side if he wants to try it again. Not as much as he had on that first pitch.
2-0. Wild pitch has Neil Walker at second base. Three balls, no strikes on Russell Martin. He has a dozen runs batted in. Alvarez to follow. Swinging on the 3-0 pitch toward left center field. Grossman over and makes the catch. Walker tags and goes to third. One out.
Ball hit hard and nice base running by Walker. Getting himself to third base with just one out. There's that ball again. And hit pretty good. As soon as Walker realizes, okay, he's going to probably catch that, gets back to the base, is able to move up. And because Walker is not the tying run, the infield's going to play back. They will trade that out, or they'll trade that run for an out, which makes it a 4-3 ball game.
Martin thought that was a gapper.
And even if that's all you get out of this, it's just that one run, that makes it nice for the ninth. Got to get Walker home for sure.
That'll do it! That'll do it! Clear the deck! Cannonball coming! Look out, Allegheny River! There she goes! We're tied as the big bull just blasted home run number 7. A titanic shot floating in the Allegheny.
An absolute missile. Man alive. What a rip. Look how far that ball took. One bounce off the Riverwalk and made it a good 30, 40 feet out into the water. What a shot. Oh. He hits so many like this during batting practice all the time. Every day just rockets over those stands.
Boy, he has lit up this crowd.
There's a floater.
Wow. Absolutely unbelievable.
Man. Oh, look at Pedro. Oh, look at that pretty swing. Everything into it. Yeah, that'll get Walker home.
4-4 ball game. And a Tabata ground ball to Dominguez. Take another look. McHenry the hug. This is the splash cam angle. Man,
what a rip.
I mean, almost that close to being just the second home run ever.
Needed about another 10 feet, maybe.
Wow, gonna do what it takes to get it.
Oh! Oh! Hey,
he's fired up.
He made the move. He decided that it was worth it. That's got to be kind of cold, but he's in there. I don't think the river's warmed up like the weather has yet. Oh, how much fun's he having out there?
He's loving it. He's fired
not coming out. He's staying in there. Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Victory. It's like Pedro and McHenry.
Oh, that is some good stuff right there.
Darrell Ward is the only man so far in the history of this ballpark to homer into the river on the fly, and that was that close. Mercer is retired. Titanic shot from the big man. Game tying launch The home run estimated some 462 feet, tied for the 10th longest in the history of PNC Park. Justin Wilson takes over.
Justin has been awesome this year. Perfect 3-0 record with that nice 1.46 ERA. Craig, you know what they say here along the Allegheny River?
What's that?
When the weather warms up, the baseballs go swimming.
That's the old adage.
That's it.
He's about 8 feet short of reaching the river.
He'll do it multiple times before it's all said and done.
Talking about on the fly.
Yep.
Darrell Ward did it in 2002.
He might end up with about a dozen of those he just hit. And that one cleared the bank. Got down on the sidewalk down there on the fly and bounced in.
It's 456 to the river, right down the line over that right field fair pole. One ball, one strike on Marwin Gonzalez.
Right in by that boat with the flag on it down there. I think that's where our swimmer went in after it. Jumped in off the starboard side of the boat. Hey, I just got an idea. They are pirates. Instead of left and right, why don't we say port and starboard?
Okay.
That'll confuse everybody.
That ought to do it. If they're not already completely confused. Second baseman Walker charges. 1 out. Twitter sphere all over the place with these tweets coming in. Hashtag Bucks Booth. Pedro absolutely launched that ball. One hop into the river. El Toro strikes again. Clear the deck. Cannonball coming. The Allegheny River is under attack.
It has been the last 2 nights. 2 balls in the water. Snyder last night, his had to kind of fight its way through center field, but it made it all the way.
Trevor Crow. The Pirates have 2 young lefties in the bullpen that have done strong work. Two and one on Crow. Single to start the 7th. And his first and only at bat so far. 2-1, 1 away. 2-2. Watson goes 2 scoreless. Gives up a couple of hits, a walk, couple of strikeouts. Two and 2, 1 away. Full count. Edgar Gonzalez and Jose Veras, a couple of right-handers loosened in the Houston bullpen. Oh, Russell Martin got up and was ready to gun it down to third base. Instead, it was called ball 4.
Looked like it was on the corner.
Well, you just see the sigh there, the exhale, frustration of that call. And Martin has a case.
Pretty good pitch.
He's saying something there. Robbie Grossman batting now right-handed. Better hitter from this side of the plate coming into the game. 316 as a righty, 169 from the left side. On base twice, a double to start the ball game, and scored and walked and came in the 5th inning. On the air on Neil Walker. Ball and a strike. Looking down at third base coach Dave Tremblay. Janmar Gomez went 4 2/3, gave up 4 runs, 3 earned. Then Mazzaro went 1 1/3, got the last out in the 5th, a strikeout. Chris Carter, scoreless 6th, 2 scoreless for Watson, and now it is the other lefty in the pen, Wilson, and the runner goes, and it's fouled out of play. Robbie Grossman, former 6th round pick of the Pirates, 2008. Fouls off another. '11 minor league player of the year in the Pirates organization, and became the first minor leaguer since Nick Swisher in 2004 to score at least 100 runs and walk at least 100 times in 2011. The Bradenton Marauders scored 127 runs, walked 104 times. One and 2 on Grossman. And they've got him picked off, and they get the out. So with 2 outs, nobody on now. In case you're just joining us, the Houston Astros scored in the 1st inning off Janmar Gomez on a sacrifice fly by Jason Castro. Andrew McCutcheon homered in the bottom of the 1st. Pirates crept within 4-2, and then had a man on in the 8th inning with 1 out when Pedro Alvarez hit this mammoth shot that took 1 hop into the Allegheny River, 462 feet. 10th longest in PNC Park history, and there's strike 3. A scoreless inning for Wilson, now looking for a walk-off win at PNC Park. We're trailing 4-1 after the Astros scored 3 in the 5th, 1 unearned against Jeanmar Gomez. Pirates got a run in the bottom of the 6th inning thanks to an error by Chris Carter. Scored on a Garrett Jones double. It was 4-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning when Neil Walker led off with a hit against the lefty Wesley Wright. And then Bo Porter, the Astros skipper, went to the right-hander, Hector Ambriz, to face Russell Martin. Martin right out to left center field. And Alvarez hit that Titanic shot, 462 feet. McCutcheons was no cheapie in the 1st inning. Tied the game 437 feet into the Pirates bullpen. Now trying to walk off with a W for the 2nd time in the last few games. Pirates had the 12-inning walk-off win on Tuesday night against the Brewers.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything. I just thought about when talking about McCutcheon's home run. How was allowed the distance on the last 3 home runs here? It's amazing.
I know.
What is it? 450 something
right.
Last night, 430, and then this massive 460 blast. No cheapies. One of the great things about this ballpark, too, one of the many great things, is that if somebody does get a hold of them, you can really see how far they go. You're not going to hit anything on the way out.
Pirates paying tribute to the troops. Armed Forces Week. Camo jerseys again tomorrow night on Armed Forces Day. 0-2 on Starling Marte. Hit by a pitch in the 1st and was caught stealing. Has since grounded out, struck out, and bounced to short.
It'd be a great Marte partay if he went deep here. Everybody was all fired up, swinging their new shirts around just before the inning got started. They'd go crazy if he hit one out of here, but he's going to start off with a base hit.
Excuse me, single.
That'll do just fine.
Now your options are open.
Oh, you got the speed guy on, carrying the winning run. Just look at the bat just stopped dead right at the front of the plate. If he would have let that bat go through just a little bit further, it would have been a little fly ball right. He stopped it exact perfect time. Couldn't have played it better. It was accidental, but it turned out great.
Edgar Gonzalez, the new pitcher. Now the winning run aboard. And how do they play it with Travis Snyder? Do they bunt him? Astros are thinking that way.
Yep.
See if they can find something out there.
Yeah, they're looking at the bat that Snyder's got in his hand right now during that pickoff move. They wanted to see if Travis was running his hand up the bat, giving away the fact that he might be bunting.
Pretty close play.
Travis, I was watching that time. He gave away nothing. We still don't know what he's doing. Pretty close. Travis wants to go through the signs again.
Check swing roller. This could be a double play ball. They get one. They won't get two. A one check swing single. And this check swing ground out. And the force at second.
It was not ideal, obviously, with the third baseman in like that. Surprised they didn't get two. really upset with himself. But he beat it out. Still have a good chance of doing something here in the 9th. Lost a little speed off the bases, but Snyder, as he just proved by beating that ball out, the double play ball out, can run pretty well himself. He's just not in the class of Marte or the guy at the plate now. The outfield's back now. They get any deeper, they're going to be standing on the dirt. Look at that. A lot of room for a single, but awfully tough to get an extra base hit. Unless you put it over the fence.
Line drive to right field, a base hit. That'll get Snyder to third. It's first and third as McCutchen rips one into right field. It's his third hit of the night. He's homered, doubled, singled, and he moves the potential winning run to third base 90 feet away.
With just one out. Now it's decision time for the Astros. How are they going to play this? Outfield so deep, there's absolutely no chance you're going to keep Snyder off third base. Big hit by Kutch.
Homered in the first inning. He grounded to short his second at bat. In the 6th inning, he had a fly ball to shallow right that the right fielder Chris Carter dropped. He went to third base on it, a 3-base error, and he scored on a Garrett Jones double. He himself doubled with 2 outs in the 7th, and here his third hit of the night moves Snyder to third. The batter Brandon Inge, who was a pinch hitter in the 7th, and bounced back to the mound. Faces the veteran Edgar Gonzalez, and Bo Porter going over a strategy here. Neil Walker on deck. Appropriate for Brandon Inge to have his first Pirate walk-off hit here. See how it feels wearing a Pirate uni. 9 career walk-off hits for Inge.
It looks like the Astros are going to at least start off here in on the grass.
So
they're not going to hold on to McCutchen either. How about that?
Can take second base.
They're not going to hold him on.
He's not going.
I'm kind of surprised there. Pena's way off the bag, and McCutchen can get a giant lead. I mean, he can go as far as Pena.
I don't think they're even going to throw to second, Bob. They would just walk Inge intentionally if he takes second. Then you got one of the better hitters with the bases loaded, and Neil Walker.
Yeah, he has great numbers with the bases loaded.
He's not going. McCutchen is not taking second.
Well, they're not set up to get a double play, although they can still get it. And if there's a ground ball up the middle, it's just like a chopper, they'll go for 2. But the reason you want to get to second base, and the only reason to get to second base, is take away any possibility of a double play.
First and third. 1 out. Bounce back to the mound. And a bobble, and they will get nobody.
Panic set in. Now the ball is hit, and he's thinking double play, but he dropped the ball. And then when he dropped it, I mean, I can understand now he's got to look home. But he still, even after he looked and saw that Snyder wasn't going home, he still could have got the out at first. But his first thought was to go for a double play.
So here he is, Neil Walker. He loves the bases loaded.
This is interesting. And now they're going to go back and play double play depth. If they were doing this with Inge was up, they probably would have been out of the inning.
2 career grannies and a lifetime batting average of 500 with the bases loaded. Takes strike 1 from the veteran Edgar Gonzalez.
Interesting strategy. Now, if you played the infield in, you'd go home as force play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They played the infield in when there was no force play. Very odd. And I would think that Inge would be easier to double up than, hitting from the port side of home plate. Walker hits from the starboard side, so he's got a little.
Exactly.
He's closer to first. So I don't understand exactly. I'm sure the Astros have their reasons for playing it that way. But you think of anything? Why they would? They would play on the grass with Inge hitting and back with Walker.
One ball, one strike. It's now 2-1. Second year with these Astros for Edgar Gonzalez. Several years with the Diamondbacks. 30-year-old from Monterrey, Mexico. Pirates have the Astros on the ropes. The Astros had a 4-1 lead going into the bottom of the 6th inning. 3-base error led to 1 run, and then the Pedro Alvarez blast into the Allegheny in the 8th tied it. Two and two.
He chased it all up out of the strike zone.
Now a meeting on the mound. Shortstop Marwin Gonzalez, the first baseman Carlos Pena, and the catcher Jason Castro. The Alvarez home run, his 7th, tied it last inning. Walker trying to bring home Travis Snyder. Struck him out looking. Walker knew it.
Not a good at bat for Neal. Chased that 2-strike pitch. It was up out of the strike zone. Ended up taking that one to walk back. You never want to go down looking with that runner at third and 1 out. Tough at bat.
See if Russell Martin can pick him up here. 4 career walk-off hits for Russell Martin. He's 2 for 4 tonight. 4 career grand slams. He takes ball 1.
Well, that's what this team has been about all year, Greg. Guys picking each other up. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Russell Martin steps up there right now and says, "Don't worry about it, Neil. I'm going to get the base hit and win this one."
He is 4 for 10 lifetime against this pitcher. The Phillies beat the Reds. Pirates could move into a tie for second in the Central. The Brewers are rallying against the Cardinals. One ball, one strike. So Martin had a walk-off grand slam against the Pirates when he was with the Dodgers. 2-1.
Take a 3-hopper through the infield right now. Anything. Swinging bunt. Or a grand slam.
Just get Snyder home. Any way you can.
Take a wild pitch.
Any way you can.
Step in front to get hit. Anything.
Check swing and a strike. It's 2-2. Boy, Michael McHenry, none too pleased, huh?
Got one left.
And it comes down to this. Russell Martin, count of 3-2. Edgar Gonzalez, no place to put him, and now everybody stands. Almost 30,000 at PNC Park watching their Pirates rally again. Timeout.
3-2, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. I don't know if I've ever seen a 3-2 bases loaded, bottom of the ninth meeting.
3-2 on Russell Martin, who tonight has grounded out, reached on an infield single, had a base hit to left, and flied out to the gap in left center. He loves that alley.
What's he going to throw? Fastball, breaking ball on a 3-2 pitch.
Here we go. And a fly ball. Looks like we're going extra innings. Oh no, the Pirates win it! The Bucks win it! They drop the ball in the collision in the outfield. The Buccos win it, walk it off, 5-4. How about that? Raise the Jolly Roger any way you can.
I can tell you what, this was a crazy ball game tonight. And that was the way it was going to end. 2 balls dropped out in right field.
Leading to 2 runs, including the game winner. Another look. Well, we said it, any way you can.
You can see it happening right about now. Right there.
Collision between Paredes and the second baseman Elmore.
Nobody was given ground.
The crowd reacts.
Look at that. Look at the dugout.
They're winning in all kinds of ways. They defeat the Astros 5-4. Send it out to Paul and T.